happy to explain anything else.
How's the layout inside? As far as tables and dining areas?
It's a two-story building. It's a two-story building, so main focus would be downstairs, where there's a big area. Right here where these two bays are, that's where the fire trucks are. That would be where the dining area and the social part of the restaurant would be. Upstairs would be something that would be tackled later on. Wouldn't really focus on that too much. So, yeah, does that answer your question? It's, yeah.
This is obviously owned by the city of Norfolk. And,
Correct.
There's, I don't know if you've talked to folks down there yet, but there's gonna be a process that you're gonna have to go through to be able to get this.
Yes, sir.
It may be a competitive situation that other people put in proposals too. But several entities you'd probably want to check with would be the city's real estate department, especially of excess properties that they have and own, and what is the typical process of that. The economic development folks could certainly help you on that too. But again, before you get into it, it would be good to know the ground rules of really what your chances and opportunities are to get this facility, and to let them lay out the process that you're going to have to go to be able to reach your goal.
Okay. Very good advice. Thank you very much.
The restaurant business probably has the greatest potential for failure of any small business out there. You may need to come up with $1 million for this. Are you prepared to get that kind of funding?
Probably not. But yes, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If it means that I work from 6 in the morning until 9 at night, that's what I'll do. That's just who I am. And as far as the funding, I'm hoping that it will be less than that. But yes, and as I said, this is just in the idea stage, and it's going to be more investigation that I'm going to need to do in order to determine exactly how much it is. I have been told by a city council individual that the building will be for sale, so that will help also being able to actually purchase it and not have to pay rent for it. And then I've been told that if you leave it in its original structure as much as possible, there's a huge tax incentives as well. So I'm hoping those things will work in my favor.
One other thing I wanted to mention to you was that, and you probably know this having gone to culinary school there, that a lot of restaurants like this, they'll team with a chef, and the chef a lot of times will have his followers that have money, and together with someone that wants to own it, management, and the chef. Usually is a situation that works fairly well. A lot of restaurants in our region.
And that's definitely something to look into, so that I don't feel like I'm in a boat all by myself. It's always nice to have other help. So yes, thank you. You had a question?
Well, 2 questions. Are you going to have the waiter slide down the fire pole with food?
I hope so.
Without shirts, right?
That would be awesome.
Obviously, you're going to have, I guess the theme of the restaurant kind of defines the restaurant, and it's not just about the food. Are you planning to make it, continue with a fire station
Yes,
motif, basically? Make it feel like you're coming to eat as the fire, okay, you got, the firemen eat at
Huge
the fire
picnic
station.
tables and
Yeah,
communal
is that
dining
yeah.
and things of that nature, yes.
You like the firemen eat kind of thing, and what's the parking situation like?
And parking is not good at the moment, but the empty lot that's across the street, it used to be a Meadowbrook school, and that was an international baccalaureate school. Half of that property is going to be divided up for the fire station. The other half is going to be for a dog park. And hopefully the parking situation for the dog park is going to give the necessary parking spaces for the restaurant.
Maybe what you ought to think about instead of a family-style restaurant, is I can't think of a better venue for a firehouse sub place. That's a natural.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and I say that kind of half in jest but half seriously, you could probably buy a sub house or a firehouse Subway sub franchise and put it in there. You'd have, all the sailors from the naval base are right down the street.
Yeah.
What Monty talked about is that if it's a small parking lot, you're going to be hard pressed to get 300 cars in there.
Right.
But you can turn people around very quick with a sub shop.
Right. And that's a great idea, but I think that it wouldn't be viable because there's a firehouse sub in Ward's Corner, and that's less than 5 miles away, so I'm not sure how they saturate the market or what the distance requirements are for the franchisees to have a place close to it, so.
Hey, Wanda.
Hi,
Okay, good job.
thank you.
That kind of Bill's question leads into mine earlier, more of a comment, because just want to hear from you. Are you inspired to serve your food in the restaurant business, or are you inspired by that firehouse?
Both.
Because that firehouse is super expensive. I mean, to build a commercial kitchen, and you've got parking issues. I mean, I'm seeing flags, red flags all over that. And so, there's a reason why a lot of restaurants open in restaurants that have previously failed.
Yeah.
Because they walk in there and they got, they just saved to $500,000 and, set up or whatever the number is. So I think you really need to define, because this is going to be that would be a trick. And so you just need to define what makes you special from the menu, because I guess you can have a special venue, but you got to have the menu and the food and the purpose of going into business. And you make sure that you really got something viable that people are going to want.
Yeah, I agree. And in order to answer that, so to speak, I'm the past president for the Riverfront Civic League, which is just behind Meadowbrook, so it's very close. I'm within walking distance to this facility. I've been there in that particular location in that neighborhood 9 years, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from people. Ward's Corner went through a huge revitalization for people that are familiar with the area, I guess 3 years ago. But the thing that was lacking was everybody was saying, where is the family style place? Where's the place that we can take our kids in and let them on the floor and walk around? I mean, things of that nature. So they were really, really concerned. There's no mom and pop place in that area. And that was the thing that everybody kept saying. We need something that's local, because people in Norfolk are very, very interested in local made, local stuff. They don't want chains. Some people won't even eat in a chain restaurant. I know quite a few people like that. And having been in the industry numerous times, and throughout my tenure in Norfolk and prior to coming here, I'm going to pull on all that experience to answer those questions and get it all down.
So you are mostly going for the southern style cooking, is that right?
Not necessarily. I don't necessarily want to jump into a regional type thing, but more like comfort food.
Comfort food.
Yeah,
Because
because corned beef and cabbage coming up in 2 weeks you can't have a restaurant without that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Ghent crowd is, a crowd that goes out to eat a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and they are more alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And so the restaurants that are popular in that area was kind of like a little different, a little more fusion. So I don't know if you are planning on anything like that. And
Well-
with the kitchen to help, there is auctions. If a restaurant closes, there is an auction to sell that equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really get maybe quarter of the price or maybe less than that if you can find an auction like that serves you.
Yes, and I have someone that is a frequent, they don't actually work, but they say that their job as an auction is an antiquer. So they've decided to partner with me if this comes to fruition, they're gonna partner with me to be on the lookout for all those different equipments at auctions that they're already at. So that's definitely one way I'm gonna try to cut costs. But as, for the other part of your question, it's just gonna be what the area's doing, like at Super Bowl, it would be a lot of wings, you know, a lot of party food, a lot of stuff like that. So, I'm just gonna try to follow the market and follow what the clientele would want at that time.
I'm sorry, are you gonna have a liquor license?
Not in the
Your times are
beginning,
not suitable for that.
not in the beginning. And the reason for that is the financial investment. Now, if I got an investor and they were behind that, I do not want to have, an ABC license. If it is any kind of an alcohol license, it'll be beer and wine. Because that's not the kind of atmosphere that I'm trying to provide. In the future, for the second floor, I'd like to be able to use that for special events, and they can get a special event alcohol permit from the ABC board themselves for that. A lot of questions. Yes, sir.
If you had to choose between opening a restaurant or opening a restaurant in that building, what would you do? And I don't think the answer can be both. I think it can be misleading. I think this is what you were trying to get towards, is that's the prize. And it looks really nice and shiny, but then when you run all the numbers, it says this is a really bad idea, right? And so what I would recommend is go after that, figure out how to do that, but make sure that just because you have this nice shiny thing over here, that it doesn't kill the business over here. Because there could be something, you know, 2 blocks down the street that could fulfill what those people that have given you feedback want, and don't, because I think someone said $1 million. I think this is gonna cost several $1 million.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of build out to do on something to even get that fitted towards being, you know, kitchen ready. So don't get so stuck on Station 12. Really cool concept, but if you really want to help the people, make sure that you can give them that for a long time, not just a couple of days.
Yes, thank you very much. And that's part of what is so valuable about being here today, so that I can get this feedback and I can start exploring all these different avenues, so to speak. Because it is in the beginning stages. Right now, it's an idea in my mind, and that's it. I don't even have everything. I'm in the process of creating a business plan, so I haven't even gotten that far yet. So
And it could be getting creative with that top floor to make money off of it.
absolutely.
Right? Where it could end up being an apartment, it could end up being some sort of venue for people to use as kind of a big space. That would make that more lucrative with a build out so complex of this.
Absolutely. So you had a question?
Yes, is there a zoning issue? Are you permitted to have a restaurant on that particular spot?
I don't even know that yet.
That would be a good thing.
I don't think that it's going to be a problem because the city is very, very interested in saving it. And the thing that has been discussed more often than not is a restaurant or some sort of eating facility. So I think they're kind of expecting that to be what it is.
You know, it might be a good idea to stop into the land use office and see about zoning. I
Absolutely.
mean, is it, you know, that would be a go, no go,
Yeah, then it
Piece
could
of
make
data.
all this a moot point, huh?
right?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, all the way in the back.
Two things. I'm looking at it as a consumer because I have a family and we're that family that doesn't eat at chain restaurants typically. So are you going to, I know this is kind of far out, are you thinking about having local artists do the inside or having local artists perform, even though it's a family establishment? Because I know when I go to places that are local, I'm looking for more than just food. It's more of a entertainment for you know, not just me but for my kids. Hey Jackie. So I mean, have you thought about that, or how are you going to, aside from food and aside from it being in a kind of a cool building, what is gonna make this, you know, what's gonna make me go here instead of spending $80 on the street somewhere?
Nothing's off the table. I've definitely thought of that, and really and truly, I would like to be open 7 days a week and have a jazz band come in for Sunday brunch and have this big huge buffet, or Friday and Saturday nights turn it into a fine dining restaurant with white tablecloths and all of that. But you gotta start somewhere.
Right.
So this is kind of where I've chosen for a jumping off point to get started, and then evaluate those things a little bit later on and see if there's an interest and if it's viable.
I definitely think brunch would be a good, thing to start doing immediately, because brunch is very trendy right now, and it's, food's not too expensive to produce, but the prices are elevated, so.
It is, but the thing that I've ran into with Norfolk, unfortunately, is people are creatures of habit, and they don't really go out of their box. They've got a favorite brunch place. They don't go to brunch every week. It's more of a special event, and they go there to that one place. I have my favorite brunch spot, and anytime my friends want to go somewhere else, if it's in Norfolk, I'm like, no, that's okay. I'll catch you next time. I just don't go. So that's part of an issue as well. So yeah, it's as I said, nothing is out of the ordinary or off the table as far as concerns or potential ways to make revenue or generate revenue. So yeah, exploring all options.
So, this is kind of an out there idea, but if you get into the numbers and the restaurant is looking like it's gonna take too much work, another thing you could possibly think about is turning that into a microbrewery. An old fire station microbrewery, and I don't know if you've been to Back Bay, Virginia Beach, but they have a smaller than that, space, and they rent the top out for events. And unless you book months in advance, you cannot get that space, and they are just making money hand over foot.
Yeah.
So, you're right near college, so, I don't know, that could be
Yeah.
a way alternate possibility, but.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that is the other idea that has been told to city council already. There's a couple other people that are already talking to them about that, just kind of throwing it out. And then the other thing that I heard was a barbecue joint, and keeping the authenticity of the building as much as possible. So yeah, there's a lot of ideas being thrown out, but I don't think anybody's actually done anything concrete at this moment.
Again, what makes this attractive, and I'm sure to you, it is the facility and the ambiance of the old fire station. I would think if you get further down the road, that you may want to consider some type of GoFundMe campaign. Reach out to the firemen. It was built in 1923, and their families and all, and see if they will invest in that and have a place that their grandfather and great-grandfather's pictures are all around it and everything. And that would be the remembrance, the monument to this fire department, along with the food of what you're doing. But I think you could probably raise a decent amount of money with all the firemen that have gone through there, the families, if somehow you could access that particular group as funding source.
And something I just thought of when you were saying that it would be really cool to do a memorial wall with bricks, sell bricks, with the names of those family members on it, and then just kind of create it as you go. So I have definitely thought of Kickstarter, GoFundMe, all those things. And as I was telling you before we got started, I have an indirect connection with this fire station myself. My nephew's wife, her father worked there at the station. He's actually a retired Norfolk firefighter. The thing that makes that crazy is that my nephew lives in Southampton County, almost in North Carolina. So he's nowhere near here, but there's still a connection to that. So, yes, sir.
Me?
Yes.
I don't know about is there any kind of historical register, or is this a historical building that's gonna require a certain amount of preservation and maintaining it in a condition that's gonna limit what you can do with it as a facility?
It is not on the historical registry yet. it could be put on the historical registry. I think the city is going to view it more favorably if someone is willing to do that. But it's not there yet. So, and to answer your question about the flagpole, or the pole
Yeah,
slide down thing, they're taking that with them across the street. It's not gonna be operational, but they're gonna take it with them. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, sticking with the firehouse theme, given the family nature of it, you know, keeping that theme, and even if you get the upstairs could probably be like a museum or something with a destination. Think of the kids. In the 70s, I was on a board for an organization, and we got a San Francisco firehouse downtown that survived the San Francisco fire. We gutted it, did it all based on historical design, and did it for a daycare for a church. And the biggest draw, and we never were without kids, was because we made the place a fun place that was firehouse oriented. And so there was content, and again, a draw for families. And I think that the weekend, then that would carry into the weekend because it could be a destination place. I don't know, the museum part in the upstairs, or just downstairs, something where activities for kids. So I think keeping that theme would be a great idea.
So, super undertaking, I'm not in this arena, so I don't know how far out you actually really need to be thinking about this, but do you have in your arsenal, and Bail is an easy way to remember your banker, your accountant, your insurance, and your lawyer, you need those people on team like now and really connecting with some bigwigs in order for that to be a reality.
Yes, I have a few of those already determined. You know, there's always room for improvement. So, yeah, I have started thinking about that. I haven't solidified all of it, but it's in the process of being cultivated. Yes, ma'am.
You need to talk to zoning and see if you have enough parking spots for a restaurant. That's your number one issue right there in that place. If not, the whole thing's a dead mute point. I mean, everybody I know in commercial real estate, it's the number one problem is parking. And I'm not gonna park across the street to walk across the street to go to a restaurant. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but I could do it in town center or somewhere downtown, but I'm surely not gonna do it there, or I don't think I would, I might. But initial thought is, I mean, the parking is always the biggest problem when renting commercial real estate to restaurants.
Okay.
By far.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Did you have a question?
Yeah, obviously the renovation is going to be a huge upfront capital cost. And there are things like historical tax credits if you preserve the building as it is. So that might be one avenue for financing, because I would think it would be very difficult to get private financing because of the extensive renovation required, and the cash flow would take a long time to pay back the initial renovation costs. So think about historical tax credits.
But you still have to pay it up front, right? So let's say you can get $1 million back, you still have to put the $1 million in. So people forget that sometimes when they hear that.
You have to pay more first.
Right.
Well, what it will help you do is get the investment, because if you know you've got the tax credit, then you'll be more likely to have an investor know that they've got some sort of way to get the money back.
Yeah.
One last thing before Karen closes it up. So your hours, to me, for a restaurant are extremely challenging, and I would just challenge you, we won't go into a lot of detail on it, but you're Monday through Friday, I guess in the morning until 8 p.m. at night, which the 8 p.m. at night, it sounds a little early to me during the week, but I can understand you close early. But how much of restaurant business is done Saturday lunches, and it's just really odd, and it's another flag for me to can a restaurant make it without having Saturday or Sunday hours?
Yes, they can, and the reason for that is there's not, unless it's a destination like somewhere on the water, most restaurants on Saturdays, the majority of the business is done in the evening, and it's like 5 to 9, or maybe even 10, but it's typically 5 to 9. And so during the day on Saturdays, it would be pretty much, you have to have, it takes a certain amount of money to even have the doors open. And on Saturdays, you can't even have the doors open. I mean, it's just, it's difficult. You end up losing money more than you do making money.
If you go to Taste on Saturday, you won't be able, it'll take you 45 minutes to get a sandwich, you know, so I'm not really sure, you know, it's completely packed.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying.
It's definitely something to consider.
What is your price point? Like, who are you trying to serve? Like, you know, the dollar signs that you see in the restaurants. Like, what is a $1, $2, $3 sign?
It would be, lunch would be probably around the $10 range. Dinner, maybe 12, perhaps. So it would be modestly priced.
So you are trying to get repeat, like, okay, easy dinner. Instead of cooking today at home, I'd rather just go there, grab something, or bringing leftover from home. I can just run there and eat something quickly that is fresh. That's what you are after.
Correct.
So you are not after the fancy food, or, you know, you don't want fast food anyway.
Right.
So, okay, that's your clientele.
Dan touched on this a few minutes ago, and I think he makes a very good point. You need to decide early on if you're infatuated with this building or you want a restaurant. You really need to decide in your mind, because what if the restaurant won't fly? Do you have a plan B for using this for something else? I mean,
Not yet.
could you open a restaurant a quarter of a mile away and accomplish the same thing? So I think you need to decide, is it the building?
And that's definitely a very good question.
I've looked
and
up
it's,
the image. There is no way anyone's crossing that street.
Oh, no, not a chance. No way.
I mean, parking is none. I mean, that's, Little Creek's a major road. I mean, it's a big challenge.
So you are crossing Little Creek? Is that,
Can I just
you have to
piggyback
cross
off
Little
what
Creek?
you're saying? I'm concerned about your price point, and one
Well,
of
then
the
you
you
have
guys are
parking.
closing at 8 p.m. It's very, very early.
Yeah, I know that area.
I went to the dinner
So,
last night, and then the price point is so low with the amount of money you have to put into here, given, and the parking constraints. I'm just concerned that it's not gonna generate enough revenue unless you have people lined up around the block, you know, and you're not opening weekday mornings, so I don't know, I just think it concerns me.
But
about
if she
it.
raises that price and she's trying to make it a family atmosphere, for me, I have 4 kids, to go out to eat with 4 kids, I'm not spending less than $60. So we don't go out to eat very often. So that's where she's trying to do the family atmosphere. So if you go any higher, you're kind of losing that whole feel of what she's after, so.
yeah, and that's, you know, that's the sweet spot that I'm trying to find. And, you know, as I said, this is still very, very beginning.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of, you guys are throwing a lot of great questions. Unfortunately, I don't have answers yet. I gotta do a lot more research on this. So, yeah, that's kind of where we are. But yes, that was exactly what my thought process was. I don't want a family of 2 or 3 to not be able to come out, and you know, we don't want them to have to take a loan to go out to dinner with their family. So that's kind of where it is.
I have a question, and my comment is that my question was similar to Dan and Zach about, is it the building, and I was worried about the parking anyway, or the restaurant? And it sounds to me like you've made a really good case for your style restaurant to be somewhere in that arena. And my advice would be to look around for a space that might already have some, maybe have been a kitchen, somebody's retiring, and it's already there, like something that's more turnkey or easier to get into and to build out what you have. So that's just a thought to leave with you. And then my question is, what can 1 Million Cups do for you?
Help me get in contact with someone that can help me answer these questions. A mentor, so to speak, that can guide me along the process. Somebody that I can bounce ideas off of. Somebody that is like, okay, this is great, devil's advocate, I need a devil's advocate. Basically, I need somebody to do the flip side of everything that I've thought about. Well, what about this, and what about that, and what about this? And so, I mean, and that's kind of why today has been so valuable for me, because I've gotten a lot of that. But I just need somebody that I can maybe confer with on a weekly, semi-weekly, monthly basis, that knows how to open a business. I have 2 other businesses, or have had 2 other businesses, but none of them were brick and mortar. And that changes everything tremendously. There's a whole lot more prepared that you have to do and all of that for that. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Well, your presentation was fantastic. Thank you for being here, and we have a cup for 999,000 more cups of coffee.
Awesome!